continue with our discussion of the review for the exam, which will be on Thursday. And we're looking at the last part of the exam, which is part 3, the constituent structure tests. So what are you doing? You're doing exactly what you did for the assignment about constituent structure tests. You want to know whether a given string of words is a phrase or not in that sentence. So depending upon the sentence, a certain string of words might be a phrase or might not be a phrase. So if you look at the first example, the children are sleeping in the bedroom. Notice that you only care about what is in brackets. You might look at that sentence, the children are sleeping in the bedroom, and say, hey, the children are functioning as a phrase here because they are the subject of the sentence. And that's true, and you could prove that that is true. However, it doesn't matter at all, because the only thing that you're looking at is children are sleeping in the. Those are the words that are in brackets. So remember to focus only on the words in brackets. And if you wanted to do a test, you could do movement, in which case you would end up with children are sleeping in the bedroom, which doesn't sound like a natural sentence of English, right? It would be really weird if somebody said that sentence to us. There would be no context that you could imagine that would support saying that sentence. Therefore, we say that the sentence is not a possible sentence, and we mark it with a little star at the beginning. So all of the impossible sentences, before the sentence itself, we put a little mark of a star to show that it is actually not a possible sentence. And if you wanted to do another test to make sure that you were correct in saying that you don't have a phrase there, you could do something like a WH question. So you could ask the question and then provide the answer. Remember, the WH question test requires that you first ask the question and then provide the answer. So for example, who are the bedroom? Children are sleeping in the would be the answer. Of course, that's impossible. It's impossible as a question. It's impossible as an answer. So the answer is definitively no, we do not have a phrase here. And let's look at number 2 to see what words we're determining are a phrase or not. So we invited Fred and Larissa, and notice what is in brackets is just Fred and. We had this same sentence on the assignment, except what was in brackets was Fred and Larissa. In that example, Fred and Larissa actually was a phrase, because you can say, we invited them, do replacement. You can say, who did we invite? And you can give the answer, Fred and Larissa. So it's functioning as if it is a phrase when it's Fred and Larissa. However, in this sentence, we're not concerned with Fred and Larissa. We're only concerned with Fred and. So we're looking at that as a unit. We're saying, is that a phrase? So for example, if we did replacement, we would want to replace just the words Fred and with a single word, which is a pronoun. So in other words, a word like it or she or they or my, something like that. So we would have something like, we invited him Larissa. We invited it Larissa, something like that, which would not give the meaning of we invited Fred and Larissa. So that tells you that you do not have a phrase here. And if you do another test, for example, movement, so you move the constituent to the front of the sentence, you would get Fred and we invited Larissa. Now notice that with some speakers of English, this type of movement is more natural than with other speakers. So for example, in my dialect, this is very productive. The blueberry bagel, I really like. That sounds like a fine sentence. Other native speakers of English will say that that sounds a little bit odd to them. So they vary in terms of their acceptability. However, it's definitely 100% for sure the case that you're not going to find anyone who speaks English who will say, Fred and we invited Larissa. It's impossible in any form of English, therefore we mark it with a little star at the front and we say that here, no, we do not have a phrase for sure. And then let's look at number 3. So you have Miriam was reading an extremely long book that was actually written for 5th graders. Again, this is the sentence that was used in your assignment, and yet what we're asking about is a different unit here. What we're asking about is the single word Miriam. Is this a phrase in this sentence? So when you have, for example, replacement, you want to use a pronoun to fill in for that position. So you could say, she was reading an extremely long book that was actually written for fifth graders. And it's important to give the whole sentence. So when you're asking whether you can have replacement or not, make sure that you're only replacing the word or the words that are within brackets, and make sure that the whole rest of the sentence is present. So since that's a possible sentence, we would say that yes, by that test, Miriam looks like it is a phrase. And when you have something like a WH question, so you're trying to ask a question to which the answer would be Miriam. So you could say, who was reading an extremely long book that was actually written for fifth graders? And you could give the answer, Miriam. And so given that that is a possible question and answer pair, you know that, again, you see evidence that Miriam is a phrase. It's being used in response to a WH question as what we call sometimes a sentence fragment. So both of those tests would function to tell us that we do have phrase in that example. So the most important thing about the phrase structure test is you always want to apply at least two. If you apply two tests and you get two different results, what do you want to do? Apply the third test. And generally speaking, the third test is going to help you to see what's going on. Generally speaking, something went wrong with the way that you applied one of the tests. And by applying the third one, you can see what is the correct structure. So you can always apply 3 on the exam. I'm going to ask you to apply at least 2. And so that will be basically the material that we'll cover on the exam. Again, if you guys have any worries, questions, anything that you're not sure about, anything from your assignments and the comments on the assignments that you are wondering about, please get in touch with me. Send me an email through the Blackboard system, and I will be in touch with you before the exam. When we speak next time, I will be talking with you, continuing the discussion about VP structures. Remember, the assignment on VP types and VP structures is not due until Sunday, until the 6th, until midnight, well, 11:59, on Sunday night. So don't worry about, for now, completing that material. Focus more on preparing for the exam for Thursday. And then after the exam, you're going to have time to go through the lectures, the readings, the assignments that will be due on Sunday. And if you have any questions about anything from that material, we can talk about that as well after the exam. So I hope that you guys are all doing great, and I hope that this is helping to clarify the material. So we will be talking to you soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.